gave me money to put in the cigar box. My mother signed a few books. "Ah, the writer's life," she said, ironically, as they handed me the crumpled 5s and 1s. But she loved these readings the way she loved evenings with her writer friends, trashing famous poets over a drink and a joint, and hated them, the way she hated the lousy job she had at CinemaScene magazine, where she pasted up the copy of other writers who, at 50 cents a word, bled shameless cliches, stock nouns, and slack verbs, while my mother could agonize for hours over whether to write "an" or "the." As she signed her books, she wore her customary half-smile, more internal than outward, having a private joke while she thanked everybody for coming. I knew she was waiting for a certain man. I'd already seen him, a shy blonde in a tank top with a bead and yarn necklace, who stood in the back, watching her, helpless, intoxicated. After 12 years as Ingrid's daughter, I could spot them in my sleep. A chunky man, his dark hair pulled back in a curly ponytail, pushed in, offered his book to be signed. "Barry Coker, love your work." She signed his book, handed it back to him, not even looking into his face. "What are you doing after the reading?" he asked. "I have a date," she said, reaching for the next book to sign. "After that," he said, and I liked his self-confidence, though he wasn't her type, being chubby, dark, and dressed in a suit from the Salvation Army. All that summer, I went with her to the magazine. She never thought far enough ahead to put me in a Y program, and I never mentioned the possibility of summer school. I enjoyed school itself, but it was torture for me to try to fit in as a girl among other girls. Girls my own age were a different species entirely, their concerns as foreign as the Doggins of Mali. 7th grade had been particularly painful, and I waited for the moment I could be with my mother again. The art room of CinemaScene, with its ink pens and a carousel of colored pencils, table-sized paper, overlays and Bende dots, border tape, and discarded headlines and photographs that I could wax and collage, was my paradise. I liked the way the adults talked around me. They forgot I was there and said the most amazing things. Today, the writers and the art director, Marlene, gossiped about the affair between the publisher and the editor of the magazine. "A bizarre bit of Santa Ana madness," my mother commented from the paste-up table. "That beaky anorexic and the toupee chihuahua, it's beyond grotesque. The children wouldn't know whether to peck or bark." They laughed. My mother was the one who would say out loud what the others were thinking. I sat at the empty drafting table next to my mother's, drawing the way the Venetian blinds sliced the light like cheese. I waited to hear what my mother would say next, but she put her headphones back on, like a period at the end of a sentence. This was how she pasted up, listening to exotic music over headphones and pretending she was far away in some scented kingdom of fire and shadows, instead of sitting at a drafting table at a movie magazine, pasting up actor interviews for $8 an hour. That night, she went out by herself. I drew for an hour, ate a peanut butter and mayonnaise sandwich, then drifted down to Michael's, knocked on the hollow door. 3 bolts fell back. "It's Queen Christina." He smiled, a gentle, soft man, about my mother's age, but puffy and pale from drinking and being inside all the time. The apartment was very different from ours, crammed with furniture and souvenirs and movie posters, variety and newspapers and empty wine bottles, tomato plants straggling on the windowsills, groping for a little light. "Snow again," he said, along with Garbo, tilting his face up like hers. "Eternal snow." He handed me a bowl of sunflower seeds. I am Garbo. I cracked seeds in my teeth and flicked off the rubber sandals I'd been wearing since April. I couldn't tell my mother I'd outgrown my shoes again. I didn't want to remind her that I was the reason she was trapped in electric bills and kids' shoes grown too small, the reason she was clawing at the windows like Michael's dying tomatoes. She was a beautiful woman, dragging a crippled foot, and I was that foot. I was bricks sewn into the hem of her clothes. I was a steel dress. We both turned to the TV to catch the best line in Queen Christina, saying along with Garbo, "The snow is like a white sea. One could go out and be lost in it and forget the world." I thought of my mother as Queen Christina, cool and sad, eyes trained on some distant horizon. That was where she belonged, in furs and palaces of rare treasures, fireplaces large enough to roast a reindeer, ships of Swedish maple. My deepest fear was that someday she would find her way back there and never return. It was why I always waited up when she went out on nights like this, no matter how late she came home. I had to hear her key in the lock, smell her violet perfume again. And I tried not to make it worse by asking